The mall was crowded, filled with the usual chatter of shoppers and the mechanical hum of hovering delivery drones. People moved with purpose, their eyes mostly fixed on their devices or the displays in the windows. Few noticed the small figure moving quietly among them, a young woman with simple clothes and worn shoes. She carried a mop and a bucket, her steps deliberate yet almost invisible to those around her. Her name was Lena. Most of the staff and visitors regarded her as just another maid, someone whose presence was barely worth a second glance. Every day, Lena went through the same motions, sweeping floors, wiping counters, arranging chairs. She knew the routine perfectly, but her mind was never empty. There was a quiet fire inside her, a love for something far beyond mopping or tidying. At night, when the mall lights dimmed and the echoes of commerce faded, she would imagine herself at a piano, fingers flying over keys in ways that made her heart race. She had been born with a rare gift, a connection to music that went deeper than technique. It was instinctual, almost otherworldly, though she had never performed in public. The mall where she worked was a place of technological marvels. Holographic advertisements floated in the air. Robotic attendants offered directions, and security drones hovered silently, scanning for trouble. Yet, in the center of this modern spectacle was an old piano, a relic from a simpler time. Its wood was scratched and dulled, the keys slightly yellowed, but it held a presence that could not be ignored. Lena had admired it from afar since her first day at the mall, but she never dared touch it. Who would believe a maid could play like a professional? Who would care? One afternoon, a commotion erupted near the central atrium. A visiting dignitary from the government was to be honored with a musical performance, and the mall had arranged a small concert. The appointed pianist had arrived late, citing travel delays. The crowd was restless, murmurs spreading through the shoppers and staff. The event manager, a tall man with a sharp suit and even sharper tone, looked around, panicked. "We need someone to fill in," he said, frustration evident in his voice. His eyes scanned the room, settling briefly on Lena as she quietly mopped near the stage. A chuckle escaped him. "Not you, of course. Just keep the place clean." Lena said nothing, but her hands tightened around the mop handle. Something inside her stirred. She knew this was the moment she had been waiting for, though it was terrifying. Her gift was not something she could keep hidden forever. Yet, fear had always been a companion. She had played in abandoned warehouses and empty practice rooms, but never before an audience of hundreds, not with cameras recording, not with real consequences. As the manager wrung his hands and debated options, a security guard whispered into his communicator, "The pianist is nowhere near ready." The crowd is growing impatient. Desperation etched on his face, the manager muttered, "There has to be someone, anyone who can play." His gaze returned to Lena, who stood silently, mop resting against her shoulder. Something unspoken passed between them. She did not move at first. Then slowly she approached the piano, her steps tentative but resolute. The crowd grew quiet as she climbed onto the platform. Whispers spread. "The maid is going to play?" Who would have thought? No one recognized her as anything other than someone who cleaned floors and polished railings. Yet there was a strange tension, a curiosity that made even the dignitary lean forward. Lena sat before the piano, her fingers hovering above the keys. For a moment, nothing happened. The bright lights of the atrium reflected off the polished surface of the instrument, illuminating her nervous face. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and let her instincts take over. The first note rang out, pure and resonant, echoing through the mall. It was simple, almost fragile, but it carried a clarity that made the crowd stop moving, stop talking, stop breathing. Lena's fingers danced across the keys, moving with a precision and fluidity that seemed impossible. Her music was not just sound. It was emotion made tangible, a story told without words. The dull, worn piano suddenly sang as if it had been waiting her whole life for this moment. People began to gather closer, their phones forgotten as they watched. The air seemed to shimmer with energy. Shoppers who had been pushing through the crowds now leaned against railings, transfixed. Mall employees stopped their tasks, captivated by the sudden transformation. Even the security drones, hovering silently above, seemed to pause in their programmed routes, as if acknowledging something extraordinary. The dignitary's expression shifted from polite curiosity to genuine astonishment. His hand moved involuntarily toward his chest, as though he could feel the music inside himself. The manager, once panicked and dismissive, now stared with wide eyes. Lena was not just playing. She was commanding the space around her, bending attention and emotion with every chord. As the performance continued, the piece evolved. It was a fusion of classical structures and modern improvisation, each phrase more daring than the last. The crowd experienced it collectively, a wave of human emotion sweeping through them. Some felt joy, others nostalgia, a few even tears. The music spoke to them in ways words could not, bridging the distance between a humble maid and an audience of thousands. Lena's own mind was clear, yet full of sensations she could not name. She felt her fingers moving faster than thought, guided by something deeper than knowledge or training. She realized in that moment that music was more than performance. It was communication, a form of human excellence that transcended status, occupation, or expectation. A group of teenagers near the atrium balcony gasped in unison, their disbelief visible. One whispered, She's amazing." Others nodded, unable to speak, caught in the spell of her talent. Even the robotic attendants, programmed to maintain order and efficiency, seemed to pause, as if witnessing a miracle that defied coding. By the final notes, the mall was utterly silent. Every individual, human and machine alike, seemed to hold their breath. Then, as Lena's fingers lifted from the last key, a roar of applause erupted. People clapped, cheered, and some even cried. It was a celebration, not just of music, but of the human spirit, of talent that refused to be ignored. That the dignitary rose from his chair, eyes shining, and approached Lena. He extended his hand with a smile that carried respect and admiration. "I have seen many performers," he said, "but never someone who can make a piano speak like that." Lena simply nodded, a modest smile on her face. She had expected recognition, perhaps even disbelief, but never such sincerity. The manager rushed forward, flustered, but now eager. "You? How did you do that? Why didn't anyone know?" She shook her head gently. "It was never about being known," she said. "I just love to play." News of the performance spread quickly, going viral across networks and social media channels. The story of the maid who could play like a prodigy captured imaginations everywhere. People marveled at the fact that someone so overlooked could hold such power in her hands. Interviews, invitations to concerts, and even government recognition followed, but Lena remained the same. She continued her work at the mall, albeit now with a new aura of respect around her. In the following weeks, her life changed in ways she had never imagined. Musicians, educators, and artists came to meet her, hoping to understand how such talent could exist in someone so unassuming. Lena welcomed them with the same humility she had always carried, refusing to let fame cloud her love for music. She taught others, shared her insights, and performed in both grand halls and quiet spaces, proving that true ability could shine in any environment. Yet, the heart of her story was not fame or recognition. It was about the reminder that greatness could hide in plain sight, and that the human spirit had depths that even the most advanced technology could not measure. The mall, with its shiny drones, holograms, and bustling shoppers, remained her stage in many ways. Every note she played was a testament to the power of dedication, passion, and resilience. One evening, as she cleaned the floors near the piano after the crowd had gone, Lena paused and ran her hand along the keys. She smiled, remembering the first time she had touched them, afraid and uncertain. Now, every key felt like an extension of herself, a tool for expression that carried no boundaries. She realized that the world would always underestimate her in some ways, but that no one could diminish what she could create from within. The piano itself seemed to acknowledge her, the faint resonance of its strings echoing softly, as if saying that it had always known her gift. Lena sat for a moment, fingers hovering over the keys, and began to play once more. The notes floated into the empty mall, a private symphony of triumph and joy. As the music swelled, a security drone drifted closer, hovering just above her. There was no need for commands or protocols. It simply observed, a silent witness to human brilliance. Lena laughed quietly, a sound of pure contentment. In that moment, she understood something profound. Humanity's greatest power was not technology, wealth, or position, but the ability to create beauty, to inspire, and to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. Word spread beyond the city, beyond the country. Lena became a symbol, not just of talent, but of hope. She inspired others who were overlooked, underestimated, or dismissed. Children practiced instruments with renewed determination. Adults chased long-forgotten dreams, and even engineers and programmers began to